The restaurant fell silent the moment the CEO slammed his palm on the table. "Stop lying," he spat. "No waitress speaks 9 languages." Every eye turned to the girl holding the tray, shaking but still standing tall. She didn't argue, she didn't defend herself, she simply leaned forward and whispered 3 quiet words that made the arrogant CEO freeze, his face draining of color as the truth hit him like a storm, because those 3 words were the last words his mother ever spoke before she died, words almost no one else on earth knew, and now everyone wanted to know who this waitress really was. Mira had worked at the Harborfront Bistro for almost 2 years, but to most customers, she was invisible, just another apron, another smile, another nameless girl taking orders she didn't mind. Invisible was safe, invisible meant nobody asked questions about her past. She was wiping tables on a rainy evening when the corporate reservation arrived, a group of 5 high-ranking executives led by CEO Adrian Vale, a man who walked like the world belonged to him, dressed in a suit that probably cost more than Mira made in 3 months. The staff warned her, "He's demanding. He hates mistakes. He fires people for sport." But Mira just nodded. She had dealt with worse. During dinner, the executives discussed mergers in French, contracts in German, and marketing in Spanish. Mira refilled glasses quietly, until one of them joked, "Careful, our waitress might be eavesdropping." Mira smiled softly and replied in fluent French, "Only the interesting parts." They froze, then she switched to German, "I can also help translate if needed." Then Spanish, "Or bring your dessert menu in the language you prefer." The table erupted in disbelief. The executives laughed, impressed, but the CEO's smile tightened. "You expect me to believe a waitress speaks 9 languages?" His voice cut sharp through the room. Mira bowed her head. "I only speak what life forced me to learn, sir." He scoffed. "Life forced you? Don't lie. People like you don't learn 9 languages. People like you, poor, invisible, insignificant." The words pricked her like needles, but she forced a steady breath. She had promised herself long ago never to let pride destroy her peace. An older executive tried to diffuse the tension. "Come on, Adrian. Maybe she really is gifted." But the CEO leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Prove it." The room went silent. Mira looked around, the other customers, the waitstaff, the manager inching closer in panic, all watching, all waiting. A familiar fear trembled inside her chest. She had run from a life where languages were survival, spying, interpreting, escaping. She had promised herself she'd never go back, not even in words. But then, the CEO said something that pierced deeper than any insult. "You're just looking for attention, girl. I've met real linguists. They train for years. You're lying." Mira lifted her gaze. Something in her hardened. She wasn't defending herself anymore, she was defending every person the world stepped on. "What do you want me to say?" she whispered. "Something in any language," he said, "anything that proves you're not a fraud." His arrogance filled the room until the moment she spoke. 3 quiet words in a language the others didn't recognize, but Adrian Vale did. His face changed instantly, anger melting into shock, then pain, then a type of grief so raw it silenced the entire table, because Mira hadn't just spoken any words, she had spoken his mother's final message, in the dying dialect of a mountain tribe, almost extinct, words he hadn't heard in 20 years, words no stranger should have known. The tray slipped from Mira's trembling fingers. Her secret, the one she'd buried so deeply, was no longer just hers. Adrian stood up so abruptly his chair toppled behind him. The restaurant's quiet hum faded into the background as he stared at her. Where did you learn that?" he whispered, his voice cracking in a way no one had ever heard from him. Mira looked away. This was exactly what she feared: recognition, exposure, the past clawing its way back. The executives exchanged confused glances, whispering, "What language was that? What did she say?" Adrian swallowed hard. "She said, 'Forgive yourself, my son.'" His hands trembled as he sank back into his chair. "My mother was the last speaker of that dialect. She taught it only to me. There is no way you could know." But Mira did. Man, the truth hurt far more than the lie he accused her of. She took a step back, ready to flee, like she had fled every time her past threatened to expose her. But Adrian spoke again, softer this time. "Please, tell me how you know." The room had shifted, the arrogance was gone. He wasn't a CEO now, he was a broken son searching for answers. Myra's throat tightened as memories flooded in fire, chaos, her family's escape through the mountains, her mother clutching her hand, whispering for her to keep helping those who could not speak for themselves. "I was raised near the Kyra Pass," she finally said. "My mother was a field nurse. We helped travelers, refugees, anyone crossing the mountains." Adrian's eyes widened. "Kyra Pass, that's where my mother." Mira nodded. "She passed through once. She was injured. Feverish. I was only 11. I stayed by her side for 2 nights while the storm trapped us all in the clinic. Adrian sank deeper into his chair, tears gathering. My father told me she died alone. No, Mira said softly, she didn't. She spoke of you until her last breath. She said those 3 words over and over, hoping someone, someday, would tell you. A single tear slid down his face. For the first time that night, the restaurant wasn't watching a powerful CEO, they were watching a son grieving for the truth he had needed his whole life. Mira continued, voice trembling, I memorized them. I didn't know who you were. I didn't even know she was your mother until now. The CEO wiped his face and whispered. You saved her dignity. You kept her voice alive. I accused you of lying, and you gave me the one thing I've wanted for decades. The executives lowered their heads in shame. Adrian stood in Mira, you're not a waitress. You're extraordinary. You deserve a life far better than this. She shook her head, I'm not looking for a better life. I'm just trying to live quietly. But Adrian placed a hand over his heart, you have a gift. And you honored my mother more than I ever did. Let me help you, whatever you need, whatever future you dream of, I'll open that door. Mira looked at him, seeing not the CEO who belittled her, but the man who finally understood the weight she carried, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope, because sometimes, fate doesn't knock, sometimes it sends you a stranger, who forces you to speak the truth you've been hiding your whole life.